Excellent. Hello, everyone. Thank you so very much for coming to this month's Mingle with the Flamingos. This month, we are going to be headlining Ray McNiece, who is a stellar beat poet. He lives up in the Cleveland area. He is the author of 11 books of poems and monologues and 2 solo theater works. He has a strong interest in cultivating a new generation of writers, and he's worked for the Ohio Arts Council, the Center for Arts of Inspired Learning, and teaches at John Carroll University. He started his own educational company called Page to Stage Productions in 1994 and was recently certified into Young Audience's National Teaching Artist Roster, a national recognition extended to 20 teaching artists. He is currently the Cleveland Heights Poet Laureate and a 3-time haiku deathmatch champion. Ray, thanks again for reading for us tonight, and take it away.
Yeah, well, thank you for that introduction. I forgot about some of that stuff, you know. Also, I just got the Cleveland Arts Prize for lifetime achievement. So they handed me the award with a shovel. They said, "Okay, time to go, Ray."
Congratulations. That's awesome.
No, we were talking about earlier. We were talking about the my Appalachian heritage and the roots down there, and I did that reading this past Saturday with Carrie Gunter Seymour, the Poet Laureate of Ohio, and she really did a great job of giving a voice to a community that I came from that was very self-conscious. You know, I mean, when I grew up in Cleveland, I spent my summers down home, you know, in southeastern Ohio. My daddy-o was born in Coolville, right along the river. So of Ulster Irish background, they came over from Ulster in the potato famine. So I want to take you down there to the Layman Methodist Church where I used to get well water for Grandma Zelma. Grandma Zelma's the reason I'm a poet. If it wasn't for Grandma Zelma sitting there in a rocking chair and reciting psalms to me and singing Wesleyan Methodist hymns and reciting the entire book of Ruth verbatim, she herself being an orphan like Ruth, orphaned out of Sistersville in West by God, Virginia, when her coal mining, still running father met an untimely end, probably from his own product. So she went over to the Marietta Workhouse. It wasn't even called an orphanage in those days. It was called the Marietta Workhouse. And she was farmed out to the McNiece family, recent immigrants from Ulster and Northern Ireland. And but she always maintained her great faith. And she learned how to read in the Marietta Workhouse from the King James Version of the Bible. So I was very fortunate in that when she would recite Psalms to me and Proverbs and whatnot, it was the King James, you know, the Elizabethan English version of the Bible. And so I really got a great earful of the cadences and rhythms of the Shakespearean English, which, by the way, when you think about BBC English, which is when most people think of an English accent and they want to fake or affect an English accent, they use that. And now on the telly is the BBC Evening News. Actually, the people that came over here during that time, that's why hillbillies talk like this, because they had more of that accent. They did a whole study of Shakespeare and pronunciation and compared it to Appalachian mispronunciations, and it was spot on. So I'm not pulling your leg at all. So anyways, here goes. This is how I got the callings, brothers and sisters, and I got the callings not to be a preacher, but to be a poet. Sundays came a light that baptized the warped whitewashed boards of the layman church. Inside it swirled along brown-yellow grain of benches polished smooth by generation upon generation of backsides. What stayed mundane was the sermon. Big words! Children had no need to understand to enter the heaven of the sun. How long-winded he was, God, boring, 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 wrote out of the preacher's mouth till you wanted him to swallow a fly. I pinched my arm to stay awake. But when the choir rose in their white blouses, their singing whelmed through my lungs like light through the tall stained windows. I followed not the verses of the hymn, but the hum of our voices as they flowed out those oaken doors over the rolling hills and flashed across the creek as dozens of dragonfly wings. After the service, the women in their floral polyester dresses gossiped in knots, and old men uncomfortable in starched collars leaned on beat-up pickup trucks splattered with the same red clay they came from, spit long strings of tobacco juice, talked low down in a way I leaned towards. I edged away from the candied condescensions of the preacher and found my body released, the field all golden hallelujah breaking loose as I ran and stood whirling still, surrounded by trees full of cicadas rasping their 17-year prayer, stoked by gusts of solar flares that blessed also my face. Falling to the earth then, I laid there below the head-tall hay a long while, listening to the dull clatter of grasshopper cartilage fluttering aloft from stem to stem, to the dipsy-doodle songs that startled a mockingbird's throat as if for the first time, to the green river unraveling through the fat shade maples, their upturned leaves hosannas on high, and closer to the crickets burrowed under the dark soil, scraping the husks of their bodies into such a music. All the callings I followed, brothers and sisters, all the callings I followed into that other world from which this world grows into singing light. Though we've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as a sun, we've no less days to sing God's parade than when we first begun. In the great yodeling tradition of Appalachia, you know why people yodeled up in the hills? Because it carried further if you yodeled. So anyway, here's a hillbilly joke for you. So the trooper pulls me over. He says, "Didn't you see that sign back there?" You know, state trooper pulled me over. "Didn't you see that sign back there?" I said, "Yeah, I seen it. I yelled as loud as I could." It's awful, awful. But I can make fun of my own people, you know. Great history, great tradition. My great-grandfather, or great-great-grandfather, apparently swam across the Ohio River just so he could join the 64th Infantry to fight against the Confederacy. So he ended up at Andersonville, which I've been to. I recommend you all go there. The American POW camp is there, and it's a sacred place, you know. So I brought back a little fruit jar of. There was one spring, and it saved a lot of lives. There was one little spring coming out of the ground there, and it's still active. Spring. In fact, I've got it over here on my shelf. A little holy water from Andersonville. So that's kind of where I got the callings, brothers and sisters, to be a poet. I didn't get to be a preacher, but I just saw it was one of those wind in the willows kind of moment where everything you just saw the totality and the eternal now, you know, the as they say. And it, you know, of course, once you see it, you can never unsee it, you know. So I've been fortunate. Oh, look at that little towhead. Looks like me when I was little. Oh, God. Let's do that. Yeah, hi. How are you? Michelle Sokol. That's a Polish name. Looks like a little Polish baby there. When I was in Russia, they said you look like a Siberian farm boy. Um, my people are South Slavs. Now I'm doing. Oh, can you share that? Can I share the screen? It says you've
Oh yeah.
disabled it.
Yeah, here, let me put that on so you can.
So, anyways, folks, just I'm going to read a mostly all new poems. That's the only one that's a kind of a classic because I've been doing a lot of different, and I think I'm just going to kind of let's dispense with this one right off the bump. Can you still see me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I can see the screen. Good.
And you should be able to share now.
Can I? Wait a minute. And I should know how to do this. Where is it? Oh, but geez. Hold on. I'm an analog man in a digital world, people. I apologize.
So I don't know what it looks like for you, but for me, it's a green button with an arrow.
Yeah, I'm just trying to line everything up so I can kind of. What the? I'm sorry for the delay. Let's start. Yeah, let's start with this one. No, I didn't want to. I want to do this other poem. I'm sorry, people. This is embarrassing how technologically incompetent I am. Where is the fucking thing? All right, well, we're not doing that one then. It disappeared. It went into the. Oh, let's do this one. This is a cheery little ditty. I just wrote this one. Wait a minute. I'll share the screen if I can figure out how to do it again. God dang it. Where am I? I'm lost. Okay, share screen. Can you see it? Can you see that?
Yeah, you're up. You're good.
Okay.
Yes.
Whew, thank God. All right, this is an interesting little ditty I put together. American History Fake News Edition. There's an exhibit of Black artists at the CMA, Cleveland Museum of Art, and Diana Leaptow told me about it, and I had this poem kicking around. And when I went to the exhibit to look at it, I wrote this. These are Black artists, and this is after Charles Wilson Peel's George Washington at the Battle of Princeton. George Washington may have won the Battle of Princeton, but he did not cut down the cherry tree. That's a lie. It was an apple tree bearing the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. America's original sin was to have the help bake that apple pie to sell back to manifest destiny men on President's Day when they go to the sale to buy a pickup truck and a gun to tame the wilderness of savages. Also, George Washington did not have wooden teeth. The dentures were made from the teeth of an enslaved African man, and those teeth, now encased at the Smithsonian Institute, tell no lies. Yeah, they just get even more cheery after that one.
Bravo. Nice.
So that's going to be, and I filmed it. It's I can't find the daggone. Oh, okay. So this is another new poem. It was recently when the ice was breaking up on the lake. The lake is a very spiritual place for me. It's the first memory I have as a human being was my sister swinging me out over Lake Erie on a swing set on East 150th Street. Probably is the reason I had such wanderlust as a child, but I often go to it. It's played a big part in my life. So went down to Wildwood Jetty to photograph the last ice floes blown into the harbor by overnight nor'easter. White lotus blossoms glowing from melting centers, iridescent shimmers. A very photogenic day for Cleveland, here at the road salt encrusted end of another long, bleak winter. Arlo the dog can only see two primary colors. My human eyes only three, red, blue, and green. Including those three, a mantis shrimp has 16 color receptive rods which human eyes can't even process. So who's really seeing reality? I watched the sun sinking over Lake Erie, having already set over Kiev. I've stopped watching war news, charred family photos and smoldering ruins, a muddy babushka in tank tracks. But I still feel the bombs beating, muffled explosions like a stroke where whole cities are erased. And I recall the New Testament comes down to its shortest sentence, 2 words we never heed. Jesus wept. So there's that. And I think we'll go into more, running out of time here a little bit. So let's go to a happier. I'm going to save that one. Oh, this is a happier one. It's about cycling through a Key West cemetery. Here's another cheery ditty. It's the Holiday album. Actually, this is pretty good. I just wrote this one when I was in Key West. I went down to Key West. I've been going there for years, since I was 17 years old. The Key West Poetry Guild has been running readies down there forever, and I read this there. It's a funny place, Key West, and no matter where I bicycle, I always end up at the cemetery. It's the highest ground on the island. The old cemetery was down by the beach, but the hurricane of, as you'll see in here, the hurricane of 1852 or whatever blew all the bodies up into the into the branches of the trees. So they moved it uphill. Gray, breezy day in Key West. So I cycled the cemetery day after Valentine's. No matter where I wander, trying to get my spirit straight in Key West, letting the wheels roll where they will, I always end up at the cemetery anyway. Ah, gray calls to gray when it comes to this melancholy haunting my life. Look, shiny red cardboard hearts adorn several tombs, the once pagan fertility holiday, celebrated also in this city of the dead. Love calls us all to the bones of this world. Sweet be thy sleep, says one stone askew over a cracked crypt. Slow drip of sweet rain, water blessing down inside from time to time. Not far away from that lays a woman named Florida. Lush name effusing all around, even in this bone orchard, through ficus and palms. Somewhere in here, a stone laid by a wife proclaims, "At least I know where he's sleeping tonight." No cardboard heart for him. I couldn't find it, but they told me it was in there. I had to pass that on. Dusk is falling, and I could be down at Mallory Square watching the gallery of ghosts who watch ghosts perform, juggling fire, walking on air, or ghost cats jumping through hoops from one realm to another. I picture postcard their sad faces, since there will be no sunset today, gray as the faces of these tombs. Here's baby Martin, and next to him little Emily. Their headstones have fallen and can't get up. The shadow of carved letters like doll eyes staring skyward. The edge of a broken cinder block holds little Emily from sinking further into her depressed plot. Along Magnolia Avenue, I pause before this cryptic epitaph. "'Tis not the whole of life to live, nor all of death to die." Which I take to mean there's more to life and death than meets the eye. Big as the sky over Cayo Hueso. That's the Spanish name for Key West, and it means bony key, or key of bones, bone key. So conquistadors dubbed it, beside the Indian skeletons they discovered. I wonder the Calusa name from here they spoke into being, tongues long dead, but for clattering palm fronds. "I'm locking the gate," the attendant yells, voice of God interrupting my reverie. I'm not ready to stay yet, anyway, and cycle out from these 100,000 stones whispering their names. and immediately hit "Do Not Enter" sign on the street, so I weave back down a one-way south of the cemetery, only to pass this giant Volvic conch marker with its pink lips, source of life, of death. Passing by also the high-rise housing development of stacked catacombs. Like everywhere else on this island, they are running out of places to rest in peace. The only way to go is up into the Elysian fields of the clouds. I cycle on the Serendipity Trail, told in the going. It's an island, so I know I won't get lost. And if I want to get away from the living a dream in paradise crowd, I'll keep cutting down quiet side streets until I see water, following my Emrich-Isled instincts, only to end up at Higgs Memorial Beach, once the town's original graveyard, gazing on sundown over their beloveds, till the hurricane of 1847 tossed their conch bones hither and yon through the white mangroves. The shrimpers are anchored leeward along Hawk Channel, riding out this gray front, rigging stretched out for balance. The crew is likely smoking or doing beer yoga. I could take a skiff out there with a 12-pack and cigs and come back with a big pile of pink shrimp to boil and shuck their mortal coils, filling my empty belly with sea dreams drifting out down Atlantic deeps. That's the next one is a different poem. That's that one. Yes, let's hear it for Bones. Clap your bones. Clap your bones for the beloved bones of our ancestors. The roots of all of our joy and sorrow. How we doing, Jeremy? Should I do a few more?
Sure. Yeah, you have about 10 to 15 minutes left.
Oh, bejeez. I'll do my collected works.
Excellent.
No, I'm going to do, I'll do a little, this is a kind of, it's really more of a prose poem. And it's, I wrote it last year for my birthday, or maybe I wrote it for my 60th birthday. Anyways, it's the day that I was born. By the way, it's Bono's birthday today. He's 62 too. I'm going to be 62. So Bono from the U2. Where I turn, the sun is finding me, but such is life. Baby boomer birthday. My 20th century started with a possible end of the world. Born May 15th, 1960, the day Eisenhower and Khrushchev met in Paris, and Defense Secretary Gates decided to test the military readiness system, which was snafu'd into DEFCON 3, scrambling fighters for a possible nuke attack. I gurgled at Mom's nipple. Nor did I watch the Russians launch Sputnik 4 that same day, perhaps the impetus for Gates's itchy trigger finger. It was accompanied by the premiere of Dmitri Shostakovich's 7th String Quartet in Leningrad. Sputnik 4 was an attempt at launching a space station manned by a mannequin, but its rockets misfired, sending it into an unretrievable orbit. I had just arrived from the deep space of my own. 2 years later, a 20-pound fragment of Sputnik 4 crashed at the intersection of North 8th and Park Avenue in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, a town, in spite of my worldwide travels, I have never visited yet. Apparently, space debris could be headed towards my head now, and your head for that matter. I did, however, probably, inhale downwind cesium-133 fallout from above-ground H-bomb tests in the Salt Plain Flats out west, just like we're getting the smoke from the New Mexico. Half of New Mexico is burning down, and we're getting the smoke off of it now. People don't get that. They don't know shit flows downstream. When will they understand that? I don't know. Mushroom clouds were broadcast on the black and white tube in my parents' living room to demonstrate the power of the atom. I watched them on grainy films in Immaculate Conception's gym when I was in first grade, in lieu of duck and cover. The air raid siren went off once a week at noon. We were to stand next to the walls, walls we watched evaporate on the movie reel. 5 days before my birthday, America ended, some said, when Catholic Kennedy won the West Virginia primary, guaranteeing his nomination. Proof that people were willing to let the Pope run the country. No burning crosses on lawns could stop it now. Buddha's birthday moves around, of course, but it is often celebrated on May 15th. My mother claims I was a happy baby, which pictures tend to confirm, pudgy and bald as Buddha. I have been asleep 7,305 days, or 20 years. I try to wake up every day since. I have lived 525,960 hours, at least 5,000 of which I will never get back from watching Cleveland sports teams lose, with the exception of a few hours in 1964, which I only heard about, and 20 seconds in 2016. I was born with a kind of invisible apocalypse mobile over my crib, missiles of Damocles, so to speak. Sack bomber trails stitched my baby blue daydreams. I may have looked out the window and seen the moon that night, but there were no footprints on it. Maybe I heard Stuck on You by Elvis. It was all over the airwaves that day. I could have been doing the twist, but it was probably gas. It was a Sunday, so somebody was probably cutting the grass, drinking a beer, listening to a ball game. Hope springs eternal. Faces loomed over my startled eyes, chubby planets, my sisters wanting to see their only baby brother. My cherubic hands were already reaching and flailing and reaching again, the world suddenly spacious, seemingly limitless. It's a nice little experiment to go to your birthday, when you were the day you were born and see what the fuck was going on. So I want to do this as a poem for my friend Glennis, speaking of which, who nearly died a year ago. She's has the big C. So it's bone. So I wrote this for the Hallelujah benediction. The Hebrew prayer of 18 benedictions, the number signifying life, corresponds to the 18 vertebrae bent in prayer, breath puffing dust to dust with the name of God, making blessings bowing over the broken things of this world. And though it seems God does not balm the pain, that it is God indeed that wields the axe that batters the bones, that hacks the spine of the tree of life down, making blessing bowing over the broken things of this world. The child arrives here, hands reaching, fingers clutching, learning what to hold. The same child grown old lays back down, hands open, palms giving, everything taken away, making blessing bowing over the broken things of this world. We're given clouds riding ever-changing winds, and sand on which we stand at the shifting shore between earth and sky, breath our only birthright, nothing more, making blessing bowing over the broken things of this world. We do not have to be whole to be holy. The potter knows this well. Even the shards of a shattered pot are God. Put hands upon the clay as the wheel spins, making blessing bowing over the broken things of this world. And though our prayers fall on deaf ears and none seem to care, the prayer of silence, rest assured, answers itself with the silence of space, spreading vast and deep, making blessing bowing over the broken things of this world. There are 9 galaxies for every soul alive, each with black holes where stars disappear, each swirling a million suns, like sand through hands, praising hallelujah, making blessing rising over the shining things of this world. So a poet's job is to write, kind of occasional poems, and it's good to be able to do that for friends in particular. What the devil? I don't want to do that. this one? I did that already. Jose, can you see? Yeah, that was recently. Let's go over here. Oh, tomatoes. Yeah, tomatoes. Let's maybe end with this, or I'll do one more. So this is another one, since it's nice and hot today, and I just drove up from Columbus. It was almost 90 degrees in Columbus today. So, it's typical Ohio weather, northeastern. It's like it's snowing one day and it's 90 degrees the next. Oh, I gotta read my Bentley poem. Maybe I'll end with that. This is called Tomatoes. And I had my spiritual awakening in southeastern Ohio. I also had my sexual awakening in southeastern Ohio. And this is called Tomatoes. Ohio River Valley hum, summer hum, wavering heat, setting sun, copper cow bell, ringing distance, brought home by drop of salty sweat on lip. Tomatoes big as a baby's bawling head, plump as a thunderstorm, hefted straight from grandma's garden. Fat slices fanned on white platter, sprinkled with rock salt glint. Served every evening as cicadas chirred diminuendo, scent of cherry wood from unfolded dining table, hearts of slimy green seeds like frog spawn. Bullfrog croaking dusk in the pond down yonder, din of crickets coming on, the juice still pungent. Cousin Glenna and her girlfriends, teen terry cloth shorts and halter tops, giggling along the horse fence line field backyard, singing Sinatra's Strangers in the Night, exchanging glances with hillbilly twangs. Out back beyond the garden, amid the lightning bugs they sang, with all those hard green tomatoes still unpicked and filling heavy, dark heat that made them so ripe, so salty sweet. First kiss with a salty tomato. Let's I don't want to end there. Oh. Let's end with this one. And by the way, folks, if you enjoyed tonight's reading, please invite 100 or 200 of your friends to come out to the Millard Fillmore Presidential Library on Waterloo this coming Sunday at 5 o'clock for free pizza, pierogies, and poetry and music. I know some of the stalwarts will be there. I'm sure Doc will be there, and Timmy as well. Timmy Boyle. So this is a recent one I wrote too. And oh yeah, so invite your friends. If you don't like what I did tonight, don't tell anybody. Just shut up about it. Don't just, like Mom always said, you got nothing good to say about him, don't say nothing at all. And this is what the Stone said. This is what the Stone said to me. I heard tell, I'm going to go back to I heard a cardinal sing. I heard tell of a man who was trying to teach a stone to talk. I stare at you, worn smooth from the river, and hold you up dripping to my ear. Spring poplars with their new green tongues will not shut up about the warm breeze, nor will bees' buzzing blooms stop, nor the river itself with its one long tongue, its language of vowels, always reciting the story of the ice age receding through this valley of gray shale cliffs like stacks of Earth's encyclopedia, literally the rise and fall of the planet. Maybe the fine-grained sands glinting, grinding the shale bank make crystalline consonants, hearkening back to big blast finite ears can barely translate sift of stars far off, crashing into each other, swallowed in the black hole of silence. But it is you, after all, that I must interrogate about all this, again and again. You say nothing. I throw you back in the stream. Plop. So I will end with a plop. This is how the world ends, not with a bang, not with a whimper, with a plop. I'll see you Sunday. Please come out.
Woohoo! Thank you very much.
So, Ray, is it 5 o'clock and not 6?
It starts early because we're going to eat first. We're gonna eat and drink and be merry, as it advises in the Bible.
All right. Thank you very much, Ray. I very much appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, good seeing those. I see some new people and I see some old standards. So great to see everybody. Come on out Sunday.
Yeah, and
Absolutely
I put
free. And read a poem. Read a poem. It's an open mic.
Yeah, and I put the link in the chat for the event on Sunday. Let me repost it because it got moved up a little bit.
That is a picture of my. I think I was 6 years old, and that was my present. Was a bike. So I'm sitting on my birthday present. And if you look close, you'll see it had training wheels on it. I hate to say, I was not very coordinated at that age. I was scared mostly.
That's fine. I'm not very coordinated at this age. All right. Excellent. Thank you so very much again. We're going to take like a 4 to 5 minute break, go to the bathroom, get some water. If you want to read in the open mic portion and you haven't let me know so far, please do, and I will add you to the list. So far, we have Tom Barlow, followed by Rich Morris, and then we have Sandra and Dee. So if you'd like to be added to that list, let me know. I'll put you on there. All right. Let's see here. Also, I'm going to add your website again too.
Oh, thank you, Sandra. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, see, like I said, I'm an analog man in a digital world. I should look at these things. People actually do this stuff. Thanks. Oh, look at this. Jesus, you're making me feel great. Unbelievable. Thank you so much. Look at all this. Is there a way I can save that? Fat shade made by Love and Style. Sorry I was late. Oh, you missed the naked part. You can't come late. Totally live nude poetry.
That's a different reading series. That's
yeah. Yeah, Cleveland Arts Prize. Yeah, that was the big thing. Like I said, and they handed me a shovel with it, and it's like, okay, you're done. Your yoga. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I call that. In lieu of duck and cover. It's a good line. Thank you for acknowledging that. It's great that seeing what people share. Visible apocalypse mobile over my crib. Yeah. My 23rd birthday was the morning ride. Oh God, terrible. Sorry about that, Dee. Yeah.
If you'd like, I can save the chat when we're done and email it to you.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay.
I a lot of that stuff, the Hallelujah benedictions, I got from the Kabbalah. I study a lot of different sacred texts, the Quran, the Kabbalah, of course, the Bible, but also, I'm actually more of a Zen Buddhist than anything, but I've always been fascinated by scripture is really, is important for poets to know all the scriptures of all the different traditions and cultures, I know, a lot of times the Christians say, there's only one way to heaven, except Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. But Michael Franti, the great singer, said, God is too big for one religion, which I think is really true.
I think if there's something that I'm closest to, it'd be Buddhist.
It really made the most sense for me,
I lean toward it because it gives you the freedom of expression, but it still gives you a framework for spirituality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's particularly Zen is not religiously dogmatic,
Mm.
And it's really just every spiritual tradition actually has the I'm trying to get out of this. There's no way of escaping the sun in here. I'm trying. Every has the sense of eternal now. The all the Sufis and the Gnostic Christians and So that's kind of, and that's the closest really to the Zen kind of thing. Chan Buddhism. I was very lucky. I know I'm sucking up some more air in here, but um, I was did translations of Tang Dynasty poems, many of which were Chan Buddhist, so they were precursors of Zen. But I did the translations with Julia Lin, her daughter Maya Lin. You may sound familiar. She designed the Vietnam Memorial.
Oh,
So I did the translations with her mother. They're from originally from Shanghai.
that's incredibly interesting. Man. All right. Cool. All right. So we're going to move into
Thanks.
the open mic portion. Feel free. So I've got Tom, Rich, Sandra, Dee, Doc, and Leslie, and we'll run through that list. You have 3 to 5 minutes to read. You can read, 1 or 2 poems as long as it fills up that time, and then we'll do one last. I'll pass it back to you, Ray, if you want to do one more poem at the end, and we'll wrap up.
Okay, cool.
All right. So, Tom, you are up.
Okay. Well, this title it's a fairly new poem. It's called How to Avoid Those Awkward Moments. Never tell your lover about your STD before putting on your shoes. Never give the finger to the tailgater who follows you home only to pull into the drive next door. Never tell your sergeant you lusted for him before your discharge papers are in your hand. Never threaten to punch out your mechanic over the bill until you make sure the car starts and he didn't box golden gloves. Never tell your mother she's a ball breaker and slam the door as you leave before confirming the Uber driver is in the driveway. Never read your BFF the CNF you wrote based on her troubles with romance while she is driving you to the airport for a flight that will be canceled. Never confess to your moribund's father you were the one who stole and wrecked his T-Bird just before he has a miraculous recovery. Never tell a poem you never want to see it again and then read it at an open mic the next night. And never tell the world you've had your fill of it if there is even the slightest chance you will encounter the world tomorrow and the next day and the next and the next. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tom. All right. Rich, you are up next, followed by Sandra.
All right, a little bit different than coming up here, but this one I actually just wrote about a week and a half ago called Elodie Lilies. I don't know if you guys knew that type of lily, but it's one of my friend's favorite types, and I looked it up and was kind of down that week and wanted to write about something positive. It was muted. But there's a poem I wrote called Elodie Lilies. Wrote it last week when things were down a little bit and wanted to write about something that was a little positive. Leaves are falling, summer has left, geese flying south. Grab our jackets from the hook and bulbs from the floor. Winter is approaching, time to plant. Bulbs go in the ground, but not alone. They go together where they wait. Months go by, snow disappears. Birds come back, singing. Grab our jackets from the hook and umbrella from the floor. Winter is leaving, time to emerge, hand in hand, seeing stems poking through. Spring flies by, sun arrives, flowers in bloom, pink flowers, speckled black, layers, petals gleaming. Elodie lilies, alone, they're pretty. Together, breathtaking, a sight treasured. Sun is shining, clouds are floating. She carefully waters the flowers, nurturing them and herself. And just another one, a little nature theme. It's a fun little one that I wrote last year called "Excuse Me, Mr. Tree." The sapling looked up and he asked, "Mr. Tree, how did you get so tall that you can glance upon the sea?" The towering tree looked down and answered, with the best of manners. First, you have to get tall, young sapling. Then one day you'll be just as strapping. Many years went by, and the young tree wondered out loud, "Oh, great tree, why am I still in your shroud? I have waited many years and still am short. I'm starting to get upset and out of sort." The tree was looking down, and from the outside, it couldn't see what was on the saplings inside. For while it was wise and sage, that simply came from experience and age. Still, the great tree wanted to be supportive. It could see the unasked question's importance. Young tree, you wait there in fear, but the right question is so near. Just waiting to grow tall is not enough, nor will you get there in a huff. I was lucky that I had a friend who shared and asked if I had the faith to dare. The truth is not in waiting for the right moment to arrive. It is living in faith and the desire to thrive. Once you begin to thrive, that is when you will truly grow and be alive. The young sapling pondered that for a season, then realized the true reason. More time soon passed, and then he realized that he was no longer undersized, for he was able to glance upon the sea when he heard a voice from a little sapling say, "Excuse me, Mr. Tree."
Excellent. Thank you very much, Rich. All right, Sandra, you are up.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you for allowing me to come back, Jeremy, and read in your group because I'm not from Ohio. I am from Virginia. But I enjoyed this group and came once before. Everyone knows about unhappy anniversaries, so I want to read one long poem and I'll be done. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Good. All right. My poem is entitled Back Away from the Brink. On May 26, 2006, a 22-year-old woman child, my daughter, my only child, fell 5 stories off a balcony, splintering into broken nothingness, nothingness wrapped in the permanence of death. While the circumstances of me losing a child becomes my personal heartbreaking story, my loss reveals a sad, universal truth. Loss of treasured life, marriage, job, goals. One can fill in the blank with what one cherishes and finds dearest. Loss is real or perceived, sprouting from whatever disheartening seed leads one to the brink, the edge of existence where death is no longer an intruder, not an interloper, but a welcomed guest. I hugged its comforting presence with remarkable sane relief. How could I stop my skin, my bones, my muscles, my every fiber from constantly aching without acknowledging the powerful respite death may provide? I don't remember most days after Genia's death. I recall burying her, but I cannot tell you much else. It was all so opaque. I sat on the edge of that chasm her broken body fell into. Day and night dreamed religiously of falling into its security too. My feet swung back and forth over the jagged rim of here and unknown there. Forward and backward, I swayed over an abyss, fully and comfortably dressed in only a suffocating, depressive cloak. Depression is a naked truth that demands attention. I didn't just want to die, I needed to die. I placed a welcome mat out for merciful death. However, my dear friend Linda removed it. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. 32 days and nights she cared for me, washed my face, wiped my tears, cooked meals, and cheered when I ate a fork or two of salad or mashed potatoes. Who knew that one day forks of food would be an accomplishment for me? I am blessed I achieved it. My beloved Linda backed me away from the brink. She insisted I ride at night in her Volvo through my little town with the car windows down, letting the wind blow against my uncombed hair, allowing my macabre, grief-twisted face to smell the morning glory scents of promise. 32 days I was never left alone. I was never left to my own desires. She knew too well that was an unwise decision to make. As strong as I may seem, I'm not inclined to endure as a norm any persistent bullshit, even if it pertains to my survival. She was my saving grace, my amazing grace, amen. She tethered me to better days to come that I could not fathom. She loved me back where she wanted me to be. She loved me back to me. I saw I was worth keeping. There is life beyond a horrific loss. Perhaps that is the understanding that those who push through learn. While the circumstances of me losing a child becomes my personal heartbreaking story, my loss reveals a sad universal truth. None of us escapes this experience called life. All will glimpse the stark reality of the brink and be forced to make the judgment if backing away or not is what's best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. All right, next we have D. Allen. And D, you can share your screen. It should be set up for everybody.
Yeah, I already figured that out. It's working now. This is my first time here for Mingling with the Flamingos. Only one person here knows me, probably regrets it. The rest of y'all, I don't know. So for those of you who don't know me, allow me to introduce myself to you properly. I'm D. Allen from Oakland, California, and I'm going to do 2 poems for you today. Before I go into them, a little Zoom etiquette. If you like what you hear coming from me today, you can respond by leaving your comments in Zoom chat. Send me a direct message through Zoom chat or click on the reactions button for hands clapping, thumbs up, or if you totally dig the piece I just recited, there's always the big red heart for love. And to assist me in delivering these 2 poems for you, I'm going to use the share screen feature. The 2 poems I'm going to do today come from my new and 6th book, Rusty Gallows, Passages Against Hate. And I'm going to start with the title poem. Being Black shouldn't be a death sentence. Rusty Gallows. Reddish brown corrosion covers the whole goddamn structure like a filthy blanket. With so much widespread decay, this old tarnished bridge should have collapsed from crashing waters many floods ago. By some fluke of nature, unscathed by time, it still stands above the muddy Chickasaw River, in Shabuta, Mississippi. Once a passageway to a long forgotten Clark County destination, twice an implement of execution like an iron crucifix. This is you. Skull and crossbones etched on the bridge's base, cryptic warning meant for anyone unlucky enough to cross it, and the invisible line from their place. Between both world wars, unspecified parties, nah, let's rephrase that. Haters strung up 4 boys, 2 girls, both pregnant, young, Negro, and guilty of nothing, hung from knotted ropes, tied to rusty girders over the coursing river like 6 black flags, sailing in the gentle southern wind. And that first poem was the title poem to my new book, Rusty Gallows, inspired by the book Hanging Bridge by Jason Morgan Ward, a nonfiction book. And the last poem, I'm not going to use the share screen feature for this last poem. It's mercifully short, 1 page. And it's also deeply personal. This one is called Fragment 2019. I'm not a religious man, not even a little. The Bible of Christian love teaches hatred and violence. The very thought of walking into a church and facing all those sharp-dressed hypocrites makes my stomach do somersaults. And prayers from the heart often go unanswered. Strangely enough, what prayer waits on my tongue? It won't be a prayer wasted on an absentee deity. It will instead be an appeal to fellow human beings. And here's how I'll release it. Judge me not for my looks, but for my deeds. The color I have is no crime.
Excellent.
And that last poem was called Fragment 2019, and they both come from my new book, Rusty Gallows, now available from Vagabond Books. From this mic to your ears, I'm D. Allen. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so very much, Dee. And I have added the link to his book. It's not the publisher's link, so you should be able to find that pretty easily otherwise. But yeah, check it out. Thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Doc, followed by Leslie.
Okay. This is a new poem I wrote for my city. Tapestry. Time weaves through our city, flows over, around, and through us, knits us together, tears us apart, and weaves us whole again. A new form for a new day. Time exists in remnants of our past, in realities of today, in dreams of our future. It weaves together an unending canvas of us, who we have been, who we are becoming in all our joys and sorrows. It has woven for us a city of people and homes, of businesses and commerce, of education, ideas and art, of culture and medicine, of streets, schools, and parks. It weaves into our lives the cool rush of water in Euclid Creek, the warm voice of the sun in day, the song of the moon at night, the soft notes of dusk deepening into dark, the bright trumping of a dawn greeting the day, the thunder and roar of storms, the soft patter of rain, the sigh and rustle of breezes as they pass through trees, the joyous shouts and sounds of children at play, the quiet words of adults at work and at their play, the scream of sirens when our police, firefighters, and first responders are needed, the quiet explosion of flowers and their scent in spring, the tonal aromas of grilling in summer, the rustle and crackle of leaves underfoot in autumn, the crystalline hiss and chill of snow in winter, the blue sibilance of our Baldwin skies, the silent flight of clouds in their raiment of whites and grays, the songs of birds, the voices of animals, threads of life, a tapestry woven for us to come together and thrive, which is the last line is our city's motto. And I have one more short poem for you. Since Ray mentioned naked poetry, this is Naked Love. Soaring on clouds of joy, sharing my innermost self, my ancient dreams, my eternal longing, blooming, blossoming neath your gaze, crumbling, dissolving at the touch of your breath, in the feel of your words, becoming one with the awe of you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Doc. Okay, next up we have Leslie.
Hi everyone, I'm new here as well. And I met Jeremy this past weekend in Toledo. So yay. So thank you for the invite. All right, I'm gonna read just a couple. One is actually 2 parts and they're not terribly new. So the first one is 2 parts that are related in theme, but not in style, because they're written 4 years apart, right after the elections. So perigee Caesagee, for anybody who doesn't know, is actually the supermoon. It's when the moon is the brightest and the largest, so it's closest to the Earth. And we happen to have one of these shortly after the election in 2016 and shortly after the election in 2020. So perigee Caesagee, November 14th, 2016. Grown the 3-headed yoke, the earth a more difficult field to work. Plow the apse into the cathedral floor, stand the grave slabs end on end, lichened, marbled, moonstruck. Cast the golden stars, the crowns and halos into the brightened sky. Light the lover's lash, desire caught on the glimmer of salted tear. Choke the bitter hops at the back of the tongue, thrust forward in a newborn latch as the world falls apart, tweet by tweet. November 15th, 2020. Spiked murder, winged murder, murderous millions, Washington's awash in venomous rage, sandwich, US, us. In our cells, we await the pinch, the sting, the bullet on the screen. Mostly, we await sleep. Awake, we dream of touch. We dream of dreaming. 2 long months. 2 long months we will wait, each past month like 2 years, bleary-eyed doom scrolling through the Twitterverse, each morning like a prolonged flinch. Once when we heard tweet, we thought of birds and sanguine mornings dipped in sunny side up eggs. Thank you. And one more. I have a series I've been working on of body poetics, and I kind of deal with weird body parts and my own body parts and things like that. So the calodon is actually the little hollow in your elbow here. So if everyone wants to kind of look at that, that's a space. So this is titled Calodon, or the humor, Humer, of plate tectonics. The fossa, the flexure, contraction, extension, an earthquake, a humble valley, an uncanny mesa. A space within, a dancer's extended arm, hummingbirds alight at the wrists, crickets in every step. Forked as a swallow's tail, a serpent's tongue, an unsure path. It is a soft pillow for an infant's head. A pulse, a sprout, every and no color, the egg beak of a turtle, the chittering of morning birds. It is hallelujah, it is come to me, it is the hallow I fill with a lover's kiss. Epilogue, inflorescence. I read of the tetterwort or swallowwort with its feather-like lobed leaves, umbelliform cymes, its convergent evolution alongside ants for seed dispersal. And I fall in love with the science, the pinnate leaf form, the Greek myrmex, the corpses of ants nursing its seedlings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leslie, for sharing. Greatly appreciated. All right. Let's see. I have one poem to share here. Let's see. Okay. This is called Transition, and I wrote this. There was a rule passed in Cleveland that that shored up some of the zoning laws that disallowed people to hold transitional bed space in like church basements and in other buildings and stuff for the homeless. And then like a week, the fire departments and the police went through and they were checking the normal haunts. And then like a week later, there was a really horrible snowstorm and some people died in that snowstorm. So that's what this is about. Transition. There's a phase, a transition, a lack of premonition, empathy, or just society-wide snacking on the raw calcified bones wherein meals are made many for me, but not for Brent. Brent props his phone by resting the bottom in a half-frozen wad of gum, recently discarded, like Brent, the top leaning against brick. Brent, lit by the bright screen, scrolls for jobs as maddening cold drifts, drafts, drowns Brent, whipping down Euclid Avenue as the icy tip of December's first frigid frost transforms into a punishing snowfall. It's cold. A woman passes. Trained to avoid eye contact, she kicks over Brent's collection can. She couldn't be bothered to say sorry. She'd never offer any quarter. After all, Brent would just buy drugs, right? Dozens of churches and groups got fire codes meant to discourage homelessness. Denison Avenue's United Church of Christ and the former St. Malachy School and the other bare basements outfitted with toilet paper, food, and transitional beds. Transitional housing slapped with fire code restrictions didn't restrict homelessness. That transition was happening anyway. Brent and 300 others wrapped up what they were doing and scrambled and gambled that they'd make it through the night. The fire code didn't soften the homeless transition. It forced the new paint on walls to transition the basements while sweat turned into a sheet of ice within the gloves Brent didn't dare remove. Thank you. And Ray, if you want to bring us home.
Let me see if this digital man in the analog world can figure out how to do this. So Doc is poet laureate of South Euclid. Actually, I think he's poet laureate of the moon today. Seems to be poet laureate of the moon. But I am the poet laureate of Cleveland Heights, and I gave my first, because of COVID, I was not, usually have to read for the city council. Doc, did you have to read for the city council? Or did you read for the, not have to, but anyway, I was right after two policemen got promoted, and after that was they were the opening act, or two police people getting promoted, and then I came on and did this poem, and I did it because it snowed that day, so I wanted to do an occasional poem to show that poets can make up stuff, and it was a couple Mondays ago, maybe 3 Mondays ago, and we had that blizzard in Cleveland. So again, here it is. During the last blizzard of winter, I ponder the life of Snowflake Bentley. Exuberant Easter Monday blizzard swirling amid shadblow blossoms bursting along the street. Fluffy crystals born in cloudland, each notched idiosyncratically through downward flight onto final resting place, covering a composite of gray-green lichen-festooned cracked slate sidewalk. These same lichens alive for 7,000 years, already outlasting several human civilizations. And it could snow over them. It could snow over them for 10,000 winters. Hell, it could snow. Look at this. I just finally got the window open, and now I can hear the sirens and the gunshots. Anyway, it's life in Cleveland. It could snow over 10,000 winters. Hell, it could snow until the sun dies. And there would never exist two of these minute moments of light the same. So Vermont dairy farmer Bentley's life became standing in the middle of blizzards outside. Oh, I have to preface this. Does anyone know who Snowflake Bentley is? The first photographs of snowflakes he took, and he was born in the year Thoreau died in 1842. And he made his first photograph of a snowflake sometime in the 1880s. And you can look up Snowflake Bentley. We still use these pictures of snowflakes. And here's how he would do it. So Vermont dairy farmer Bentley's life became standing in the middle of blizzards outside of his ice-cold shed in hopes of catching the perfect snowflake on a slide to micro-photograph it, heartbroken over that one perfect crystal melting before it could be shared. Maybe it's this one, constellating hieroglyphs dissolving on the momentary wheel of my fingertip as awe. So there you go. Snowflake Bentley and the perfection of snowflakes. If you get a chance, come on down to a gun sale at the church. This coming Sunday, May 15th. That's an old song. Do you ever hear that song? My two main men are Jesus and old John Birch. I'm a heading on down to a gun sale at the church. It's a satirical song about the certain people in the southern part of our great nation. Anyways, come down May 15th. Pizza, pierogies, poetry, open mic starting at 5 o'clock at the Millard Fillmore Presidential Library, aka a watering hole on Waterloo Avenue, not far from the Beachland Ballroom. For those of you out of town, I toast you now. Happy birthday to you and wherever your respective birthdays. There it is. There it is. Nice. That looks tasty. All right. Thank you, Jeremy, really for doing this and, putting poetry out in the world like that. More poetry is a good thing always. I think everybody should recite a poem every day just to a passerby. Just give them a haiku or two and see what they do. like our friend, what was it? The one guy was talking about never tell your mechanic you did a crappy job before you get the car keys back. Or whatever. That was I love that one. That was hilarious. Anyways, thanks, Jeremy. I'm going to go eat catfish.
All right. Yes. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming. Thank you, Ray, again. I really appreciate it. A round of applause for Ray one last time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who read. I do urge you to check out his event. I put the link again in the chat. We will be back here next month on the second Tuesday again, and that will fall on the 14th. So keep an eye out, and thanks again. Have a great night, everybody.